Hi, I'm Dee Dee Furman. I'm the director of the Synthesis Center in Amherst, Mass. And the director of the curriculum at Synthesis Center San Francisco. I want to travel with you on a little trip through a concept that has recently caught my attention and that has deeply moved me. I was at the archives of Roberto Assagioli, the founder of psychosynthesis, and I found a handwritten note. It said, "Joy which is untouched by circumstances." In this day and age when there is so much that comes to us that does not appear to be joy, this caught my attention. There's a further quote by Assagioli that I think allows us to go a little deeper into this idea and where we're going to take it in this short video. Spiritual joy possesses another trait that at first may seem strange and paradoxical, but which, on closer examination, is seen to be natural and befitting the character of that joy. Namely, it can coexist with pain. This is what each of us faces every day of our lives. And this is the work that psychosynthesis invites us to find a way to hold more deeply and effectively than we may have been able to, and in a way that allows us to be true to what is deep within us in terms of our calling, being active in our worlds, being healthy in our inner beings, being compassionate and caring and responsive in our interpersonal worlds, and still knowing and touching all the pain that exists in our own lives and in the world. So I'd like to invite you now just to take a moment with me to tune in. Feel free to close your eyes in this moment or soften your gaze and just allow yourself to follow along. Allow yourself to experience breathing in joy and breathing out joy. And then let yourself breathe in pain and breathe out pain. Allow both the joy and the pain as you breathe them in and breathe them out to be personal as you know it in your lives, societal as you see it in the news, and global as you understand the importance of our planet as that which holds all of this work. Breathing in, breathing out. And allow yourself now to breathe in a sense of yourself, defined in psychosynthesis as contentless awareness and will. Breathe in the empty space that has no story, that makes no good or bad judgments. And breathe out. Breathe in the awareness side of the self, taking in everything you know about the world, and breathe out the awareness, letting it go. Breathe in the will experience of the self, the call to action, to manifestation, that which moves you day to day in big and little actions. And breathe out, letting it go. And in the quiet of your breath, breathe in any way that you know it, the deepest truth that you hold. And breathe that out. And then allow yourself to come back to the visuals on this video, to your experience of being more than either side of the pain and joy spectrum. And welcome back. I want to share another quote that I found from Roberto Assagioli that he wrote in 1942. Now, Dr. Assagioli was a man who had been in both World War I and World War II, and he was a pacifist. In World War I, he was a medic because he was an MD, and they were required to carry guns. Assagioli, being a pacifist, would not. And so, to go out into the battlefields to treat the wounded men, he carved a gun out of black soap. And by World War II, he was arrested by the fascists in Italy for the crime of being a pacifist. Through all of this, he developed an experience through his own spiritual practice, his deep philosophy, and his work in psychology. He developed not only psychosynthesis, which he first labeled that in 1910, but this deep understanding of that which is larger. And so his quote in 1942, "Tormented by countless fear and continual doubts, humankind is irresistibly attracted towards people who show by their lives, by the qualities they radiate, that they have attained a central point of calm, harmony, and contentment." This by the man who, in solitary confinement, turned the experience around so that he considered it a meditation. Each of us is invited. In fact, perhaps we are called or even mandated by the highest within us to find that central point of calm, harmony, and contentment. We're going to look at a key map in psychosynthesis into which this concept of joy, which is untouched by circumstances, can be and is held. For many of you, this will be familiar. For others of you, this will be the beginning of a study that will take you deeper into this and other maps. This is the synthesis map. Assagioli talked extensively about the balancing and synthesis of opposites, comparing the need for night and day to the equivalent need to be able to hold within ourselves many polarities, and in this case, the polarity of pain and happiness. In this version of the map, what we see is that through the balancing and synthesis of opposites, we aren't pulled to pain or to happiness as the only way of being. We are, in fact, held steadfastly in the middle in such a way that we hold a larger vision, a larger experience, not caught in pain or happiness, but called through a process of synthesizing towards a larger joy, a spiritual joy, as Assagioli called it. And that word could be replaced and has been by many other words, including whatever words come to you: peace, truth. Think about the other words that might get filled in for you there. Love, calm, serenity, spirituality, acceptance. Any one of those transpersonal qualities will fit in this movement that takes us to synthesis. And I want to talk a little bit more about this, because what happens to us first is that we have the option, and here's another Assagioli quote, "It is always both and, never either or." And so, our first invitation in this joy untouched by circumstance is to be able to hold pain and happiness as a both and experience. I am experiencing pain and happiness. Again, we can find this in our lives daily. I can read the news and experience the pain of the world. I can be with a grandchild and experience my unrelenting happiness at these new lives and their future. But if I lose myself in one or the other, I cannot do this work. So our first invitation is the both and, that allows us to sit as complex human beings who can cry and laugh in the same breath, who can turn awareness of the pain in the world into action through joy. A risk that we all face, and you'll be able to identify yourselves here possibly, is that if we lose track of the other side, if that gets blocked off, if we get so caught up in pain or happiness, we will start to find ourselves on very dangerous distortions. And some of these, and you will also be able to easily imagine for yourself what some of them are, but for many of us who struggle with social activism, with reading the news, with knowing what's going on in the world, with so much awareness of pain and suffering, people who are working in the immigrant movement, it's across the board. In the United States, it's a shooting every other day. It's a forest fire. It's true in every single country in the world that the invitation to know the pain is so great that we can take this pain into a distortion that turns us into being, I'll give you a few words, but think of your own, negative, feeling victimized, lost in despair or hopelessness, possibly rage, depression. In the worst cases, this pain can become suicidality or addiction. And that which is sitting side by side with the pain is no longer available to us. But it's really important to know that the same exact experience happens if we block pain in order to experience happiness. And boy, is that tempting. A couple of days of reading the news, and we would really like to just experience happiness. But the distortion, or the many distortions on the side of happiness, are equally dangerous. One can become Pollyanna-like, seeing only the good. Everything is for the good. We can live in denial, in the happiness of our own privilege, perhaps. We can be in denial that anything is going wrong. We can be numb to other people's circumstances or to our own inner pain. There's more. Easily we look at avoiding. Don't look, don't look, don't look. This too, it can lead into an overwhelm and an excess of things that are pleasurable. External joys, another car, another meal, another movie, addictions on either side. Filling ourselves up, filling the empty cavern that really can only be filled by also allowing in pain. In the worst case over here, this becomes a deeply embedded selfishness, a narcissism, an objectification of everything that threatens our own sense of happiness. So the work for us, as we first hold the both and, the work for us is to find out how do we keep moving from here to there. And there are many, many techniques and strategies, and I'll name a few. But again, right now as I say that, as I say to you who are watching, how does joy call you into the fullness of its being? You will have answers that are unique to you. But for our purposes in this moment, let's think about some of the ways this happens. It starts with both and. And it starts with awareness and will. In that we take in awareness and we act on will. If we read the news day after day after day and do nothing with it, we will become spiritually stunted. If we take action and action and action and action and never refill our inner being, we will become drained. Both and, awareness and will. The experience of presence, being here and now in this body, in this world, experiencing it. Meditation, sensory experience, community, song. There are going to be innumerable ways, practices, connection to nature, commitment to a cause. In each of those experiences and many others, you will find the movement that takes you towards a more integrated experience of being able to hold pain and happiness. Not pulled apart, but brought together into something that is higher, more potent, more manifest, that is us listening to the call of self and responding. So I want to take us to one last set of quotes as we come to the end, and a little exercise. First, I'd like to share with you this beautiful business card. Breathe. Breathing is going to be our best practice in the synthesis map. And breathe in this business card gets elaborated. Breathe deeply. Return to your body. Expand awareness. Accept this moment. Take one day at a time. Heed inner wisdom. Easy does it. Thank you, Jean, for this beautiful card. We talked about the need to find our own inner self. What Assagioli, in one of his many quotes, called the central point of harmony and contentment. As we do that work, we will become different and we will become more. Assagioli also talked about nations and the soul of a nation. And he said that the soul of a nation is known by its best citizens, by exemplary individual figures, and by the community's manifestation. For us to be the best citizens of our nations, and for us to be the best souls for ourselves, we need to be holding the call of self, and that call will be unique to each of us. I want to end us with another quote from Assagioli, and one from a poet we all may know. Assagioli says about finding and listening to our call of self. Passing in inner quietness, slowly listening to hear the right word, I am obeying certain conditions. Shall I take this road or that? Shall I respond to this call or await another? That is our life's work. And Walt Whitman, long ago, walking that same path of his life's work, said this: I am larger, better than I thought. I did not know I held so much goodness. Let us breathe into the goodness that we hold and the path that we walk to breathe in that goodness and to manifest that goodness. Thank you for being with me.